This is a little different setup for me as we take another trip down the road together. I'm in Bismarck, is where I'm at as we do the show, and I'm in the studio that a lot of people you see here on Beck News utilize, doing a little workout here in Bismarck. And so I'm where the fancy stuff is. I'm just saying I should have probably dressed up a little more, but then that isn't me. We've got some great people lined up for you today. Nancy Guy's going to join us. She's been a public servant for the city of Bismarck for a long time. A very long time, and she knows this city inside and out, and so I'm anxious to talk to her about that. Also, North Dakota State Treasurer Thomas Beadle joins us. We were talking about pheasant hunting before all of this, and Thomas, good to have you coming down the road with us.
Thank you, Joel. Always happy to be on.
Did you see how I caught that pen?
I was impressed.
That's pretty good.
I was impressed with it.
That's an old football ref in me.
Yeah. You got to have the quick reflexes.
Let's just do this in front of everybody. How was pheasant season?
It was all right. I only got out once this year. Family got out a few more times. Didn't have quite as much luck as you did, but we went out on some windy days, and that was all right.
Yeah, you maybe don't know as many farmers as I know.
That's also fair, too. I rely. I mean, we got plenty. We got a lot of connections down in the Foreman-Cogswell area, and then some down in Southwest as well, that we have some family down there, but yeah, not quite as many.
I got a buddy he's got a beautiful dog. He doesn't... I always tell him I'm going to steal his Joey. Yeah. Just a great pointer. But he bought a license over in Minnesota this year.
Sure.
So he hunts both sides. He just crushed it over in Minnesota.
So my brother has a new dog that he's been breaking in, Mila, and then my brother-in-law has a wonderful pointer named Ellie. And so we would take them out. Last year we had them out as puppies. They're a little more rambunctious. This year they were a little more focused. Mila still has a crazy amount of energy, so keeping her focused is always tough. But
you get a chance to talk to a lot of people in this job, and you love the outdoors. So I get to ask you this as well. What are you hearing from the sportsmen and women out there? How deep's the ice? Because I'm not hearing good things.
No, it sounds like the farther north you're going, it's a little bit better, obviously. Devil's Lake, I know they're getting ready for another good ice fishing season up there. But yeah, it doesn't sound like I haven't had nearly as many folks getting out there ice fishing that have been reporting back to me. Yeah. I know we usually we've got a family cabin on Light over in Minnesota. And so my uncles and brother, they usually set up some good spots there. I haven't heard anything yet this year of them getting out there and getting anything.
Well, somebody talked to me yesterday about Lake of the Woods. Mm-hmm. And of course, they're not driving on Lake of the Woods with pickups yet. And who would think that at Lake of the Woods?
No, especially with how cold we've had some of these days, especially when we go around Christmas. Just hasn't set yet.
I think those folks that don't realize that snow can be a heck of an insulator.
It's a really good insulator. Right. It's a really good one. I know I've had a snowmobile almost go down in the lake one time.
Well, it's driving me nuts. Yeah. I want to be out ice fishing. So, yeah, I let a whole bucket of minnows go. I let them go in the spring, so I didn't just waste them. But I had them for too long. All right, let's get to work a little bit. A lot of money coming through North Dakota. Oh, yeah. A lot of money coming from the federal government through North Dakota. How are you keeping track of all this?
We're more flush right now than we've been in a long time, in large part because of that federal money right now. Our daily deposits over at Bank of North Dakota sitting at about $4.2 billion, the highest we've had continuous since we had the surge back in 2015 of some of that oil money. But we did set new records when we got some of the federal payments. And we're doing a good job keeping track of it. The legislature appropriated a lot of that out when they were here for special session. We've got $17 million going out to townships here this Friday, another $75 million going out to counties next Friday to getting some of that money out there that the legislature has appropriated. But we're making these investments into our infrastructure, and we're doing it at a time where we've got high inflationary costs that are impacting all of those projects as well. So I think it's important to kind of spread some of this out over the next couple bienniums, because there's a lot of needs out there, and there's going to keep being those needs to get that money out there.
There was a lot of talk about the amount of money that was going into infrastructure. The biggest problem I'm hearing from many of these different counties, townships, people like that is they can't get the job done anyway with the money you're about to send them.
And we adjust, when you look at the amount of money going to counties and townships, the legislature just appropriated hundreds of millions of dollars towards infrastructure in spring of 2021 during the regular legislative session. So then you dump another $100 million going to counties and townships here, not even 8 months later. And to be able to find out, it's going to be the same building cycle. They're not going to be spending it until the spring of 2022 construction season starting. It's a lot of money to put down there with only a finite amount of contractors. So to be able to spread that out and find workers when we're already dealing with sub 3% unemployment, I think the Fargo area is at 1.9% unemployment right now. It's tough to find people and crews to get that work done.
Well, and you're seeing it and you're hearing it.
Mhm.
I remember an era, and I'm older than you, but when you got a summer job,
Yep.
we used to tease the NDSU students because they were on quarters and we were on semesters at UND. So you got home before them
Yep.
and you got the good summer jobs. Now you could get a job anywhere. I mean,
In a heartbeat.
right?
They'll take a warm body anytime they can get it. I know I had the same luxury of that when I was at Concordia. We got done about 2 weeks sooner than the SU kids. And so I was one of my first summer jobs over at Phoenix International on the assembly line making some John Deere parts. I mean, it was a great job, but I got in there a couple weeks before some of the other folks. It was really fun to have
Right.
because I was able to get some of those ones. But yet now everyone will take you. If as long as you're passing the drug test and
Yeah.
you're somewhat competent, they'll hire you. And
That's
doesn't
big
take a
part
whole
of
lot.
it, though.
Yeah.
I was visiting with an individual where her job was to go out and help truck companies make sure they met the criteria of the federal government.
Sure.
And so she went out and helped them with the safety, with the electronic, all of the things you know what we're talking about. But she said that over 70,000 truckers went off the road because they couldn't pass the marijuana test.
Wow.
And I'm like, okay, what's wrong with this scenario? Because we know how short we are, truckers.
Yep.
Some states have it legal, some states have it,
Yep.
not legal, and it's different than
A
alcohol.
lot of huge impacts on
I
that
didn't make
stuff,
you
yeah.
come in here to talk drugs,
Yeah,
but
no,
you know
that's-
what?
there's a lot of huge impacts on that. I know when I was in the legislature, that was something we were always dealing with: is how can you make it so that you have the same systems? Because once a trucker crosses state lines, you're in federal
Right.
jurisdiction, or you're falling into another state's jurisdiction, and what's legal here isn't legal there. I mean, it's all sorts of issues that they have to wrap their heads around.
Right. So let's talk about that. Getting this money out there and
Yep.
working. Construction money, contract money, all of this. If they don't use it, what happens?
So some of the federal money has some timelines, some triggers on it. It has a certain amount of time that we have to be able to get it out there. Some of it has a little more leniency where we can schedule it out and kind of show if we can program out our spending over X number of months, then an agency is able to retain some of the money and program that out. And if they're not able to spend it, then they have to send some of that back just because of some of the clawbacks the federal government had on that. On the whole, we had a lot of latitude with the money that the legislature had, especially the CARES money that we had coming in 2020. They were able to supplant state revenue with some of the federal dollars coming in for some of the infrastructure projects, et cetera. So they were able to use that money first because that money had the use it or lose it clawbacks, and then save our own money where we had more flexibility and some more longevity to be able to use it to make our dollar the second dollar into the project. And so that helped a lot with that programming. But we are seeing, and we're coming up against some of the federal clawback provisions on there, and I know some agencies are having to make those decisions right now about whether they're going to be able to spend the money.
In my time in the legislature, we used to try to protect against money that was sent to agencies, and I'm talking about state agencies
Sure.
now, obviously, not, townships, counties, those type of things, schools. But come September 1st, when the budget cycle would change, you'd see just this got to spend it type of an
Yeah,
attitude.
there's definitely that mentality.
Are you seeing any of that?
I mean, there is a lot of that. We saw some of it come out, but at this point, enough of the agencies saw enough money that they're not as panicky about that.
Okay.
A lot of that old
They're not fighting each other.
Yeah, and a lot of that old mentality was, based on how you do your budgeting, is how much do you turn back, and then is the legislature going to give you a haircut because you didn't need as much money last biennium, so now they're going to cut you down for the next biennium. A couple sessions ago, the legislature started from the base level. They started going back to zero and rate setting it, and not counting the governor's budget, and so all of the increases had to be justified that way. And so it made it a little less of an incentive to spend all that money down right away because you're not getting penalized as much for the turnback. And so they've made some of those changes. But anytime you see an agency like that, they always have that mentality of, well, if we don't use it, it's going to not be in our budget next time, and we might need it next time, so we need to make sure we can find a way to use it.
Hey, this is really dating. You weren't, you were just a little kid, but Ed Schaefer used to just push it has to be a 90% budget so that he could kind of sort that out.
Yeah.
And it was an interesting time in state government because we were talking about, in those days, ending fund balances budgeted for $13 million.
Right.
I mean, could you imagine that in today's economy?
I mean, I think this last time, I think we estimated ending fund balance to be around 70 million or so. But then we got all the federal money in, so our actual balance ended up couple hundred million. I think it was 400 million going into special session that the last biennium ended at. And even at the start of this biennium, we're already about 9% above forecast for our general fund revenue, about 24% above forecast this biennium for our oil and gas collection revenue. So, I mean, we're starting off this biennium pretty strong. So even the conservative estimate of ending fund balance around 75 million, right now, if prices continue where they're at, if our economy continues where it's at, we should be in a better position than we forecasted.
Okay. So, you know, it was an old argument. You were on the statewide ballot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, you are the state treasurer.
Mm-hmm.
But there were a lot of people that felt that the office wasn't needed.
Sure.
You know, that we don't need a state treasurer. In fact, in many of these offices, it's like, do we need a state tax commissioner? Do we need, or should that all fall under the governor's, purview? Now, I'm going to ask you, because there is so much money running through your office. Are you in contact with the governor a lot? Do you speak with the governor's office a lot?
Our office and the governor's office talk quite a bit. We also talk with the tax commissioner's office quite a bit, and the Bank of North Dakota. We're the only state with a state-owned bank, and so we're in concert with them quite a bit on different issues. So, I mean, there's a lot of that communication, a lot of that dialogue. The conversation about, the elected offices has been going on for a long time. North Dakota has more statewide elected positions than any other state. Mm-hmm. And on the whole, that makes sense. North Dakota was founded by a bunch of Germans that were fearful of a strong central government, so they decentralized power as much as they can. Yeah. And the legislative branch is the strongest branch we have in our state because of that. And so a lot of that mentality makes sense, decentralize it all down there. There's always room to have the conversation about how can you create more efficiencies, how can you make government operate more effective, and I think that's the genesis of where the combinations of combining some of those offices have been. But as long as the job's getting done and we're making sure that we're being good stewards of resources and being transparent with the people and that they have that accountability, we just try to make sure that we operate as best as we can. And however they want to shake up what's an elected position and what's not, that's not for us to decide. Our job is just to keep doing the job for the people of North Dakota.
You bet. Thank you. Thanks for coming in. And if you hear any more ICE reports, you go ahead and call me.
I'll keep you posted.
You got my cell phone.
I got you.